So today we're going to be working on task 7.5. And one thing before we get started is we need to review standard form. So remember that standard form of a quadratic equation is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now a is the coefficient in front of x squared, so it's the number in front of x squared. B is the coefficient in front of x, and c is your constant term. It's the number all by itself added or subtracted to the end. Now with Miss McSwain in the previous lesson, you learned how to factor when a was 1. The number in front of x squared was 1. Today we're going to focus on when a does not equal 1. So there's going to be a number in front of x squared this time. And the method that we use to factor when a does not equal 1 is called slide and divide. So I'll show you what that means. The slide is one step and the divide is one step. So we're going to look at this practice problem together. I suggest that maybe you pull out a sheet of paper and a pencil and work these out with me. I'll have a few examples for you to work on your own. So if you want to pause the video during that time to work it out before I show you the answers, that would be one way to get some really good practice in before you're going to work some problems in the book, and then you'll also have a quiz on this. So the first example that we're going to work on is 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So notice that our a value is not 1. We have a 2 out front instead. So this is when this method of slide and divide is helpful. So the first step is we slide. The 2 slides back to the 3, and we multiply those two numbers together. So 2 times 3 is 6. So we're looking for factors of 6, so things that multiply to get 6, and things that add to give me that middle number. So things that multiply to give me 6, that add to give me 7. So you may see it done as a product like this. So things that multiply to give you 6, that add to give you 7. So things that multiply to give me 6. So I have 1 and 6, I have 2 and 3. I also have -1 and -6, and -2 and -3. So the things that add to give me 6 would be 6 and 1. So those would be the two numbers that work. So 6 and 1 are the ones that multiply to give me 6 and add to give me 7. So just like Miss McSwain taught you yesterday, you would split it into your two factors, x plus 6 and x plus 1. Since 6 and 1 were the two numbers that satisfied my product. So now that we have it broken up into our two factors, here comes the divide step. So the 2 first slid at the beginning, and now it divides. So we divide each of our factors by that a value. And we reduce. So x plus 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's the reduced form of that fraction. Now, 1/2 is already in its reduced form. So what I like to call that fraction is an ugly fraction. We like nice, pretty, even whole numbers. And so anytime we get a fraction that's completely reduced that we can't do anything, we do a last step of a slide, and the 2 slides right back in front of that x. So instead of writing x plus 1/2, we write 2x plus 1. So here is the factored form of 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. Okay, I'm going to do another example with you. So don't worry if you didn't pick up on that the very first time. We'll see it a few more times before you're going to work some on your own. So the second example that I'm going to show you is 5x squared plus 8x plus 3. Notice that our a value is not 1. This time it is 5. So we're going to use the slide and divide method. So the 5 slides back. So I'm looking for things that multiply to give me 15, that add to give me my b value, my middle term of 8. So two things that multiply to give me 15 and add to give me 8. And that would be 5 and 3. 5 times 3 multiplies to give me 15. 5 plus 3 adds to give me 8. So those are the two factors that work. So I write it in my factored form, x plus 5, x plus 3. Now comes the divide step. The 5 comes down, and we divide both terms by 5. Okay. Now, 5 divided by 5 reduces to be 1. 3 divided by 5, that's already as reduced as far as it could go, so I would call that an ugly fraction. So the 5 slides right back to the front of the x. So 5x plus 3. That way we don't have any fractions in our answer that we have to worry about. So we have x plus 1, 5x plus 3. Okay, now I would like you to try this one on your own. So 3x squared plus 16x plus 5. So 3x squared plus 16x plus 5. So take a minute, pull out a sheet of paper and a pencil, and work this problem. I'll go over the answer in just a little bit, but why don't you go ahead and press pause on your video to give yourself time to work it out. Okay, if you haven't finished working, go ahead and pause the video until you're done, and then you can restart it. But I'm going to go ahead and go over the answer. So 3 slides back to the 5. So I'm looking for things that multiply to give me 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. Things that add to give me my middle term of 16. So 3 times 5 and 15 times 1 are the two things that multiply to give me 15. So I'm going to use 15 and 1. 15 times 1 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. So these are the two factors that work. It does not matter which order you write your factors in as long as they're both there. Remember that multiplication is commutative, so it can be x plus 15 and then x plus 1, or x plus 1 and then x plus 15. Okay, now we're ready for our divide step. So the 3 comes down and we divide both of our factors by 3. Okay, 1/3 is in its its reduced form, its most simplified form, and that's still a fraction, ugly number, so we're going to slip that 3 right back in front of the x. So 3x plus 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we can go ahead and reduce that to x plus 5. So you should have gotten 3x plus 1 times x plus 5. Okay, I'm going to do one more example with you. Okay, 2x squared plus 2x minus 4. Slip the 2 to the back. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. So I'm looking things that multiply to give me negative 8, that add to give me a positive 2. Now when we think about this, things that multiply to give you a negative number, that means one has to be positive and one number has to be negative. So when I think about things that multiply to give me 8, I think of 4 and 2. Now, one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative to multiply to give me a negative 8. So I'm going to make the 4 a positive number and the 2 a negative number, because that's the combination that will add to give me a positive 2. So we want the bigger number to be positive since we need it to add to be a positive 2. So 4 and negative 2. So this gives me x plus 4, since it's a positive 4, x minus 2 because it was a negative 2. So we put that negative 2 in the form of a minus sign in our factored form. So now we do the divide step. So we bring that 2 down. Now, both of these end up being nice, pretty reducible numbers. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now, if this ever happens where you end up with 2 pretty whole numbers, so nothing has to slip back in front, your 2 makes its way to the very front of the problem. So if it gets divided out into a whole number, your 2 goes to the very front of your answer. I'll show you that one more time before we're done. So we're going to do one more together. 2x squared minus 10x plus 12. The 2 slides back. So 2 times 12 is 24. We're looking for things that multiply to give me 24. That add to give me my middle term, my b value of negative 10. So the things that multiply to give me 24, that add to give me a negative 10, would be negative 6 and negative 4. So I have x minus 6, x minus 4. Those negatives take the form of a minus sign in our factored form. Now I'm ready for the divide step. Divide each of those by the 2 that's out front. X minus 3, x minus 2. Okay, both of my answers came out to be whole numbers, so the 2 needs to end up in the front. Okay, so there are 5 examples for your assignment in your MVP book, in your task notebook. I would like you to work on page 37 and page 38. So page 37 and 38, number 8 through 22 even. You only need to do the even numbers. So I hope this helps. There are plenty of other resources online when you are factoring when a does not equal 1. So if you still need some more help, Google some of those videos and watch them as well.